It's a matter of having the confidence to bring your special sauce to that email, to that meeting. Because so often we try to be what they want us to be, like the casting director the agent or manager. But really, they want to see someone who is authentically themselves. Because if you're authentically yourself, then you're not being like everybody else who they see come in all day for these meetings of trying to be this perfect actor person. No. Unique is key. And you don't have to do anything to get that. You're already unique. So today on this episode, I'm actually going to be talking to my college acting class and chatting with them about the industry and how I got into it, what my experience has been into, and how I got an agent and a manager, and pretty much anything that they're going to ask me. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to record it and share it on my podcast. We're going to be talking all things ground up within the acting industry, in my experience at least. So that is what today's episode is about, and I hope you enjoy.
Hi.
Hey. I will start by telling you guys just who I am because we're just meeting. So my name's Natalee. I was a student at Saddleback in Maria's class, and she initially was the first class that I took that was a TV and film class, because before I signed up for drama classes in high school and I was just never into it. I don't know why. I would sign up for an elective every single year in high school and I would walk in and I was just not interested. I would just turn around and walk out and sign up for a new elective. And I didn't know why, because I knew I wanted to be an actress since I was like really little. But theater and film are very different. And I love theater, but I love watching theater, not like doing theater. So when I got to Maria's class, it was a true TV and film class, and we would take scenes from movies and memorize the lines and dress up and record it and collaborate with the directing class. And I don't know if y'all still do that, but it was truly such an incredible experience. And that's what really got the ball rolling for me, to know that I was in the right place and that I did want to do acting in TV and film. So I lived in Ladera and I moved to LA when I was 20 to pursue my career in acting. I guess I can just start with kind of my journey, which was figuring everything out really from the ground up and having no mentors at the time. And, you know, my family was supportive, but they weren't in the industry at all. So I was really on my own. And I took to Google and YouTube about like how I can even, you know, get the ball rolling in this industry and how I could get myself from not being on a TV show to being on a TV show. I had a very specific goal that I wanted to be on like a CW or a freeform type show. And so the first thing I did was, well, in Maria's class, she taught us about resumes and headshots and reels, and all of those things are still correct to this day. You need all of those things to start submitting yourself to agents and managers. So what I did was cold email a ton of agents and managers with a headshot that I think I took in Maria's class. She had someone come and do it for like $50, which if she's still doing that, definitely do it. Even if you're like, no, I don't feel like it, just do it. You'll never get a chance to get photos of yourself for 50, even 100, 150. Like that's insane. 200, still insane. I don't know if it's more, but up to that is, you know, they're very expensive. So I did that and I had absolutely nothing on my resume. So I just kind of made a couple things up and put some special skills and grabbed the footage that I did in Maria's class. Wow, Maria, you're the one that got me started on all of this. I wouldn't have had any of that. So I used all of those materials and I emailed agents and managers that I got off of IMDb Pro, which is, if you're not familiar with it, it's a platform used for all agents and managers and producers and directors and writers and actors. It shows all of their work. And also you have access to all of everyone's emails. So You have to pay like $120 a year. I think it's like $20 a month for it, but you get access to literally every agent and manager in Los Angeles's emails and addresses, but you don't need their addresses these days. You used to. You used to have to like mail them a hard copy of your reel and headshots and stuff. But now you just need emails. So what I did was really just kind of cold email and say, hey, like I'm an aspiring actress. Here's my footage. And nobody responded. Maybe a few people responded and were like, no. So I was pretty much, a little discouraged from that, but I knew that as the more I kept knocking on doors, someone was bound to open one of them. So during all of this, I moved to LA, and the first thing I did was sign up for an acting class, which I would suggest to anyone who wants to pursue acting is to get into a class, any class. It doesn't have to be the best. It doesn't have to be, one that everyone goes to. It could be a cheaper one. It could be an expensive one. It doesn't matter. Just get into class because you're going to meet so many people that are going to help guide you through this crazy industry. And that's what I did. All my best friends to this day, I met in my first year of acting class when I was 20. And I specifically went to one called Leslie Kahn, which is a comedy studio, but I'm not a comedy actor. So she doesn't just do comedy. She does drama as well. But don't be detoured if you see that it's a comedy intensive studio. And so from there, I started, learning a lot about how to act and do scenes. It's a different beast when you're getting real scripts from TV shows and films and knocking them out in class every single week for hours at a time and watching other people do it. It's truly something that you get better at. Like, I am the first one to say that I did not come out of the womb with a lot of natural talent. Some, but not like, I don't think anyone does. I think it takes a lot of practice, right? They say in sports, it's like 10,000 hours of practicing to become a Kobe Bryant. And that's with anything in life. And they say it takes like industry standard of like 10 years in the entertainment industry before you book, your first big thing, which I can attest to is absolutely true for me. Everyone is different, but so, getting up in class every day and working those muscles definitely helped for when I got into the room with acting. Also, I was just putting energy in general into the area of life that I wanted to pursue and get better at. So that's one thing I would say to do off the bat is research some acting classes and sign up for one. Even if you guys still live in OC and you're truly interested in starting to, act, I would sign up for a class in, January and drive up once a week and kind of make that happen for yourself, because you just meet so many people. And in those classes, you talk about how to get an agent and a manager. And sometimes people introduce you to theirs if you're lucky enough. So that's what I did to start. And then eventually I got signed with an agent and a manager and started going out on auditions. And it was really not a seamless experience. I think I did about 300 auditions before I booked my first role. Don't be scared. I'm not saying there's a lot more content. Well, 5 years ago when I booked my first show, there was also a lot of content being created. But these days, like, you guys can book even, don't they have I feel like they have scripted Snapchat shows now. Like, there's things where you guys can be like getting in the door for now that can, you could book a little bit sooner than having to go through so many auditions. But don't get me wrong, it still, no matter what, takes a long time because you're getting used to this new beast of like auditioning. It's its own thing. Another reason why acting class is so great is because you meet people in there and you're like, hey, can you tape me for this or run lines with me for that? And so eventually, after a lot of auditions and a lot of no's, I booked my first show. And I remember when I booked it the night before. So obviously a lot of sacrifice goes into this, right? Because if you get an audition, you can't go to that birthday party that you wanted to go to because you have to study 10 pages of dialogue and have it ready the next day. And that's how fast it's moving these days. No bullshit. Like, it is 10 pages due tomorrow, and you need to find someone to tape you, and you need to have good lighting, and you need to have good sound. And, you know, that's a whole nother thing that we'll definitely talk about today, is like self-tapes and what that looks like. And it's easy. Once you get the setup good, you're good, and you can knock out tapes, no problem. So the night before I booked my first show, I had like a birthday party, my cousin's birthday party that we were planning for weeks. And I was so excited to go. And it was like a whole thing. It wasn't just like a casual, it was like we were planning it for weeks. I was very much involved in this whole party. And I get the audition, and it's for a freeform show, which is my dream network at the time. And I was 23, so I had to, meaning like I was very much, I could have definitely been in the mindset of like, you know, birthday party's more important. But I was like, damn, I have to do this. Like, I don't know. I really like this role, and I can't, you know, I can't come. I have to sit with this one out. And they're like, what? You can't just like bail it. You know, it starts in an hour. You've been pilling. And if I didn't do that night and have that awareness of like, I need to lock myself in a room and really study this, it's that important to me, I definitely would not have booked that show and end up doing 8 months of work for that show in Canada. So just like a small example of kind of the grit that it takes in some cases, and the awareness of kind of, you know, checking in with yourself. Like, is this what you really want? And putting in those reps to make sure that you're doing everything you can to make it more of a possibility, and enjoying the process all at the same time. I think something that I've been lucky about is I really enjoy the process. Like, I love auditioning. I love getting scripts and reading them and having the hope of booking that role. But just know that the more you do, it's science. Like, you're going to book one if you keep auditioning. There's going to be hard times where you're like, do I even like this? Do I even want to do this anymore? And that's totally fine too. It doesn't mean that you're not an actor or you don't want to, you know, pursue this career. It just means that you're human and going through a lull. And usually when those times happen is when you book something. But anyways, so I booked my first show, and then kind of been auditioning ever since, and been booking steady work for the past 4 years. I just booked, so like there's something called in TV, there's like a co-star, guest star, a recurring role, a series regular. So my dream has always been to be a series regular that's, you know, one of the leads of the show. And I just booked my first series regular 2 weeks ago. So very exciting stuff, you know, if you stick to it, it's bound to happen. But yeah, okay, questions.
I was just applauding, that's all.
Oh.
I was applauding. Which show?
Tell Me Lies.
You were, I mean, on Power, on Raising Kanan, were you not a series regular?
I know. So here's another fun fact about the industry. What they like to do is put you in a ton of episodes and make you pretty much a series regular, but call you a recurring. So that's what that case was. I was in every episode of that show, but I was supporting one of the lead characters. Again, it doesn't mean anything. I'll never forget Maria said there's no small roles, there's just small actors. And my role in that show is not remotely small. But it's not that I want to be a series regular it's just been a dream. It means that you are just more involved, which I've always wanted to be, kind of more in the meetings and talking about things. It's just, yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, I mean, who doesn't want to be, you know, I want to be the lead of the show or part of the main cast. And that's kind of what that title gives you.
Can you tell us about the character in the show?
In Tell Me Lies?
Yes, and to share Tell Me Lies, yes.
Has anyone by chance seen Tell Me Lies?
It's Netflix, isn't it?
It's Hulu.
Oh, it's Hulu, okay.
So it was a book that they turned into a series, and we just got picked up for season 2 a couple weeks ago. And my character in that show, so in season 1, I'm sprinkled in it. it takes place in 2007 all the way to 2015. So it's pretty much about a toxic, tumultuous relationship of a guy and a girl between the ages of 18 and 26. So it shows them meeting in college at 18, kind of falling into this quite toxic relationship, and then seeing each other again. And then from 18 to like 24, and then seeing each other again at 27. And then throughout all this is a lot of twists and turns and cheating and love and friendships. I'm obsessed with it. I definitely manifested this exact show. It's a very grounded, Euphoria-esque Hulu show.
But does that shoot in LA or?
It shoots in Atlanta. So a lot of things, shoot in Atlanta or Vancouver.
What kind of, you said earlier that you sent emails to a bunch of agents. Like, what would consist in these emails? Like, what would be in them? Like, what would you put in them?
What would your cover letter in your email be?
Yeah, great question. So you pretty much pitch yourself. And I love that question because we can get analysis paralysis by thinking that email needs to be some super important and long, intricate, knowledgeable email. But indeed, it does not. You actually want it to be less. Less is more. You want them to kind of be intrigued and like interested in who you are rather than telling them a bunch of stuff. It's more of like visual. They're going to scroll down and look at your headshot, check out your reel. So what I put in it, this was 8 years ago. I put, hey, my name is Natalee. I'm a Los Angeles based actress seeking representation. My wheelhouse is CW, Freeform, Pretty Little Liars meets Vampire Diaries at the time. Now I would probably say, like, if I was just starting this, my favorite show is Normal People on Hulu and Euphoria. So I would be like, I can really see myself in a grounded type romance show like Normal People mixed with the toxicity and teenage like feel of Euphoria. Attached is my headshot, resume, and reels. I would love to set up a meeting if you think that we could be a good fit. You could be as specific or not specific as you want. Just don't make it long. So you can be like, also if you have any experience, you could be like, or I'm currently studying at this studio. I'm in between representation. You could lie. I'm in between representation and I really love your agency and I would love to be signed with you. It's really that easy. It's more of getting your materials together. So you need to make sure that you have a great photo of your face and you have footage. So the great thing about footage though is back in the day, it was really hard because self-tapes weren't like a huge thing. And so you had to like put yourself, like make a scene with friends, and it just felt really overwhelming because you're like, how do I get a camera and all this stuff? But now all you need to do is a self-tape of yourself of a scene. So go online. I think a place where you could find a bunch of scenes from TV and film is called Showfax. It's a website, and pull some scenes that you could see yourself playing, that you can see this agent and manager pitching you as, right? So I would find something that is young, coming of age in their 20s. I would like read a bunch of scripts that look like something that I would be into, that I want to be in, like a show that I want to be in. So then when I send it to the agent and manager, they're going to know exactly how to pitch me. They don't have to do much thinking, right? You're giving them everything they need. You're like, look, here I am. And I get that you guys are going to be discovering as you go. You don't have to know exactly what you want, but do your homework. Like watch some shows, look up some actors and actresses that you think might represent what you want. So then you can kind of talk about that in the, like, hey, I really love Sydney Sweeney, and I think that I'm a cross between her and Zendaya. Sorry, I'm doing a bunch of Euphoria references, but it's at the top of my head. And so then they know what to pitch you as, and they don't have to do much work. They're like, oh yeah, I know a bunch of casting offices that pitch those exact type of characters, I'll sign you. But the most important thing is that you guys have a tape of you acting. And it only needs to be 1 to 2 to 3 minutes, just one scene.
Got another question.
Okay, my question is, so you said that like it could take, oh, thank you, Edgar. So you said that it could take a long time, and like you said, like you enjoyed the process of auditioning and stuff, and that's like that's hopeful. So like something that I kind of like have a concern about is like, were you in that time that you were living in LA and you were still auditioning and stuff, like were you working, and so like how did you balance the time commitment that it takes to like pursue acting, but also work and like, you know, be financially stable and stuff?
Such a good question. So I moved to LA with like $2,000 that I saved up from working right across the street from you guys at Buffalo Wild Wings. And that money went really fast. 1,000 of it went to parking tickets. I'm not exaggerating. It was really bad. But I got a job at a restaurant and I worked at night. So I was able to go to auditions during the day. And I was really tunnel vision on this idea of, you know, making it and really supporting myself through acting eventually. There was just kind of no backup plan. I was like, I'm going to work at a restaurant. Restaurants you can make a lot of money at. So I worked as a hostess at a steakhouse in West Hollywood and eventually got to quit when I booked my first show. But another thing, I did a lot of commercials. So I don't know if anyone's interested in doing commercials, but they are a great way to make money and to get into SAG as well. Like a national commercial can, these days it's less than it used to be as far as money, but there's more commercials being made, so it's easier to book them. So that process is the exact same as theatrical, just the headshots are a little bit different. They're more commercial and lifestyle and smiley and like bright shirts, whereas theatrical is more moody, less smiles, no smiles for like a theatrical headshot. So when you have your materials, you could send to commercial agents as well while you're sending these pitch emails. Again, really short. Hey, my name is Natalee. Your special skills are important for commercials. So like, I'm a dancer, I'm a surfer. Surfing is, I always use surfing. It was like super unique and I could kind of surf. Like I could if they needed me to, but it was more of like a pitching tactic. And he used it all the time. He still does, my commercial agent. And I'm like, all right, it's been a long time since I've surfed, but don't put anything that you truly cannot do. In your pitch email, just kind of try to separate yourself from everyone else. And you're unique anyways, right? Because you are your own person. It's a matter of having the confidence to bring your special sauce to that email, to that meeting. Because so often we try to be what they want us to be, like the casting director the agent or manager. But really, they want to see someone who is authentically themselves. Because if you're authentically yourself, then you're not being like everybody else who they see come in all day for these meetings of trying to be this perfect actor person. No. Unique is key. And you don't have to do anything to get that. You're already unique. So the question was, yep, I had a job when I was pursuing acting.
So I have 2 questions. Kind of coming back to, having a day job while pursuing acting. What got you through kind of those slumps when you weren't getting as much work and almost, like pursuing any dream, when those self-doubts start to come in? What kind of got you through that? And then the other question I have, coming back to pitch technique, do you think it would be good to kind of play into, let's say there's a certain common set of actors that everyone always compares you to, right? Like, oh, you know who you look like, blah, blah, blah. Do you think that should be utilized as well? Of like, who's the first actor that when people compare you to, that comes to their mind of like, I'm like a mix of, let's say, Timothy Chalamet to an Andy Samberg, and kind of show that range through the way people market themselves.
Great questions. I'll answer the first one first. What got me through the slumps? Yeah, there were definitely a lot of them. I would say when I was feeling at one point, yeah, just super, it's not going to happen. I did not book for a really long time. I did not get callbacks for a really long time. It wasn't like I started auditioning and then I got some callbacks and then I got pinned and then I got put on hold. No, it was like nothing. Callback, nothing. And then I booked something, right? Like 4 years later. I would say my routine, grounding myself every single day and reminding myself that, you know, everything happens for a reason and that you're on the right path. So my answer to that is checking in with myself daily, which I feel like is so often we don't do because we don't have the time or we're rushing or, you know, we don't know how to cultivate that type of routine. So I started a morning routine where I would wake up every single day and I would meditate and then I would state affirmations. I would state my gratitude. I would set my intentions and then I would get on with my day. And this was kind of my way of taking the power back in this industry where I have zero power and where everyone is telling me no, pretty much. Like putting my heart on the table and people being like, they don't even tell you no. They just don't say anything. So it got very, you doubt yourself. You're like, am I doing the right thing? But the problem is if we don't check in with ourselves, then sometimes we could be missing an opportunity to take inventory on how we're feeling about what we even really want, right? The last thing you want is to be pursuing something for 15 years and then realize that that was never what was in alignment for you to begin with. And the only way to know this is to be vulnerable with yourself every single day or as much as possible and be real with, you know, what you want. And it was always very like, okay, no, this is what I want. There were doubts where it was like I got a 9-to-5 job at one point working at a debt collecting company because I was like on the verge of quitting. You know, those things are going to happen. I don't have an answer for like, you're going to do weird things where you like sign up for some course and you're like, I'm going to be a Facebook ads expert. And, you know, maybe it'll come in handy down the road and maybe you will fall in love with it. But all of this is part of the process. You know, it's 10 years is a long time. 5 years is a long time. So there's going to be ebbs and flows. But I think the most important thing was just grounding myself every day and just reminding myself like, hey, you're in the right place. This is what you're meant to be doing. And also when you get quiet with yourself, you're able to listen to the universe or God or Mother Nature, whatever, of what it's trying to tell you. Like there's ideas that come to you within those quiet moments and inspiration and motivation. And I think that's one thing that this generation, all of us, are learning about, but don't take the time to do. So if you guys at this age and this time in your life can kind of cultivate that routine where you check in with yourself every day, you'll be like light years ahead of all your peers. And then
Did you tell them about Magic Morning?
Yes. So Magic Mornings is literally what I just explained to you, but because it helped me so much, I ended up turning it into a business. So MAGIC is an acronym that stands for meditation, affirmations, gratitude, intentions, and coffee. And coffee is really just a metaphor for taking action. You don't have to drink coffee. I'm obsessed with coffee. That's definitely why I did the C. But also it's just like, okay, you state your affirmations, which reprogram our subconscious mind to believe things about us, right? Like we lie to ourselves all day with negative thoughts. All day. We have 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And like 75% of them are the same every single day. And a lot of those thoughts can be making up stories and, again, just lying to ourselves. So I like to tell people, well, if you're lying to yourself already, why don't you lie to yourself about something positive? Even though it's not a lie. But again, I'm just saying, if you're already doing it, why not put positive thoughts into your head, which reprogram our mind to actually start believing those things about us, which then translate into the world believing that about us, which is so important in this industry because we go into a casting office and we're having all these thoughts all day long about how, you know, we don't look like this girl, or, you know, we're not talented, I'm not creative. And these are just thoughts that I have myself. So then that's going to pick up, and they're not going to put you as the lead in one of their shows. So this is one of the things that I started doing that I think really helped me book jobs, was like reminding myself every day, like, no, you are the shit. No one else there is like you. And that's not, society tells us that that's being, you know, pompous. No, I'm sorry. No, you should look in the mirror every single day and be like, yeah, you are so unique and so talented and humble all at the same time. So that's the A in magic. The G is gratitude. Of course, I'm sure you guys have heard all the scientific benefits behind a daily gratitude practice. It helps lower stress, release anxieties, and it just reminds you of all the great things that we really do have in life. Just sitting in this room with Maria at Saddleback College in South Orange County is just right there, is so lucky, right? And so just reminding ourselves that every single day. And then intentions, which is my favorite part of magic, are really the driving force behind your goals and dreams. So reminding yourself and the universe every single day what you want in life, like getting on the same page, quite literally. Like, hey, don't forget, this is what I want. This is what I'm going after. And so intentions usually start with I will. So like for me, I wrote, I will book the lead in a show. I will be on a Hulu show, like whatever specifically I want. And don't be afraid to go super big. Sometimes I'll be writing by myself in my office in the mornings and then be like, don't write that. That's so embarrassing. That'll never happen. And it's like, geez, the things we say to ourselves, like, no, this is the time to be big about it and plant all those seeds, because once you plant a seed, it takes a long time for that to grow into success or a big tree, if you will. So start planting those seeds every day, and don't underestimate the power of pen to paper, which is why I wanted to create a like tangible journal rather than an app or something like that. And then, the M is meditation. So it's really just breathing. We don't breathe. I'm sorry, but we don't. We don't breathe during the day. We don't take a conscious breath. And I think that it's sad. You know, we don't learn in school about mindfulness and meditation and how important our breath is. I mean, that's the only thing we can come back to every single day. Not a person, not a place. Your place is in here. It's you. It's your vessel. It's your breath. So that is magic, a morning routine based on positive psychology research that I created. And then the second question that you asked, Timothy Chalamet, was what?
If you're a cross between Timothy
No, I was just saying, like, when people, let's say somebody kind of, whatever is the archetype that people kind of compare you to.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's like people could walk up and be like, hey, you know who you look like, blah, 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 blah. You know, kind of like
That's right.
that of like what people see in terms of marketability, of like when you do make those pitch, kind of leaning in, whatever is that just kind of marketable archetype.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if you identify with what they're saying, you know, use it. If you don't, then definitely don't use it, because they will start pitching you as that kind of type, characters they play. So, you know, you could say Timothy Chalamet, but if you don't like dramas and period pieces and something like Dune, then don't say him. If you like multicam comedy, I wouldn't say Timothy Chalamet, even if people say you look like him. But if you actually identify like, hell yeah, I love his grounded work and everything. And the other guy you said, let's say it was, I think, a cross between Timothy and Andy, you said? Sandberg, right?
Yeah.
That's a fun one. I think that's actually really fun. Like, that's a unique combo of being like, I could play this young, you know, dramatic guy, but also I kind of have a quirky twist to me. So take it. Yeah, of course. I think definitely use it. And again, if it doesn't fall in line with who you are, then don't use it.
So I was wondering more about um, your wheelhouse or what you are comfortable with. And one thing that I have heard about are pocket characters, go-to characters that you can do easily, comfortably, and how to find more about that for yourself.
You cut out a few times. Say it one more time. Wheelhouse, you said characters in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, pocket characters. So characters that you can go to right away if someone says, okay, I don't really know what I want, but I kind of want something like this. You can say, okay, I'm capable of that. Do you have any suggestions for creating a character that you can go to for something that you can tailor for the actual role in a project?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to like your special sauce and your uniqueness. And like for me personally, I've always, I don't really have pocket characters, but I have friends that do. They totally do. One of my best girlfriends is like, hers is like so specific. It's like bitchy influencer stranded on an island, and like she can do the funniest improvisation of just like the most perfect. She could just pull out a scene out of her pocket, like you're saying. I don't have that. I just kind of, I love a really good, grounded, HBO type show. Like, give me the grit, and that's what I like to do. But I think if you know that you do like more character acting and, you're more of like a Jim Carrey type, right? Yeah, like have something always in your back pocket where you're like, if someone gives you a scene and it's got some room to play with, that you can kind of pull that out and use it within, the correct genre and time and place of whatever that scene is, but also sprinkle your special sauce onto it. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. I don't know. I don't personally have, I'm not like have too many. My wheelhouse is very, again, I've said it a million times, but like a, network show type drama.
Like you played very different characters in Siren. You were an agent undercover.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Power, you were an ambitious kind of recording producer, wanted to produce her brother's album, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she was very sort of working class, kind of edgy compared to the undercover officer in was it FBI or different? I forget, was it FBI or was it?
Yeah, it was military.
Military, yeah.
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 Yeah, that's a great point that you bring up. I think that what inspires me too are my auditions that I get. So like for the Power one, she had a full on accent and everything like that. So I really got to dive into like the research of how I was going to play that. And it took place in Queens, South Jamaica, Queens in the 90s. So like, what were they doing back then? She's Puerto Rican. She's, I'm kind of putting long nails on her, which kind of sets me in like, so kind of thinking about these different things, these different mannerisms that she might have and body language. And I'm very logical, analytical. So I like to write things down. So I might take a piece of paper and a pen out and kind of be like, okay, where's this girl from? What's her daily routine? Like if someone was playing me, and it was in a script, they would be like, okay, I wake up and go to yoga and then I meditate and then I, go to the office. Oh, it sounds so boring. I am so vanilla. But yeah, so I think kind of creating a story definitely behind each character that's the fun part. So
that's great advice, to create the biography, the story. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And do the
Getting
research and make the choices. Yeah.
The more specific that you can get, the better. And it sounds obvious, but to actually sit down and kind of write all those things out about where you're from and how many siblings you have, it really affects the way that you might say even just a simple line like, can you pass me the milk?
We have a branding question. Your brand.
Yes, other than acting, how are you building your personal brand?
I think that over the years I've been building it, and again with like sitting quiet every day, it's kind of helped me so much develop a stronger relationship with myself and what I really want, right? Because sometimes outside sources, especially in this industry, can kind of put you in a box and tell you how you're gonna be seen. I had to make it a point to really, again, take back that control that sometimes the industry likes to take from you and be like, no, this is who I am and who I want to become. And so throughout those daily pages, it just kind of builds this beautiful story of who I have been becoming. And within that was a lot of teaching and mindfulness and magic and spiritual growth. And yeah, my brand is being an entrepreneur now. That's part of it with magic and making sure that I'm able to teach the younger generation about mindfulness. That's like a big picture for me. And so once you discover that, which again, it takes those moments of being quiet with yourself, then for me, I kind of ran with it. I was like, okay, I know what I want my acting platform to be used for. And that is mindfulness and spreading the importance of it. And you'll figure that out through acting class. I mean, one of the exercises at my first studio was you would sit in a chair in the front. So you would be like facing everyone and like talk about yourself for like 60 seconds or something. And then you would turn around and sit in the chair. And then everyone would kind of like shout out like random roles that they think you might be able to play. So it's kind of a fun exercise. Things were said. I mean, this was, again, when my first acting class ever. And it was nice because they would say things that I never would think of, about who I could maybe play or who they thought that they perceived me as. And again, you take things with a grain of salt, but you're learning during all of this process about who you are. And that's a beautiful thing. And I think with that, you can kind of build your brand, and through practice and through daily mindfulness and through meeting new people and through going through hardship, like getting fired from an agent and all of these different things, you kind of build out who you essentially are going to be.
Could you share? Thank you so much for that. I think the mindfulness I think it's really important, particularly nowadays. It's so needed in society. What could you share with the class? What percentage of auditions are self-taped nowadays versus going into the casting director office?
100.
So 100% self-tape.
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
100% self-tapes for theatrical, and then for commercials, 80% are tapes and 20% are in person, I would say.
Okay. Tips and tricks for success in self-taping, could you share that with the class?
Yes, absolutely. So whoever's pursuing acting right now needs to get these 3 things. You need to get a backdrop from Amazon. I think last year I sent Maria the link, so I'll send it again this year. I definitely have it because I send people this link all the time. It's a great backdrop. And you need a selfie light with a little stand to put your phone on. And you need a cell phone. And that is all you need, really. There's no way around that. I wouldn't suggest trying to bootleg things. Like, just get the setup. It's a one-time thing, and then you have it forever. And you just put the backdrop 2 pins on a wall. This is what I do. Or if you have a wall that's like a gray color, that's fine. I don't think white works very well because there's shadows, or a blue wall. Then you don't need a backdrop. That's totally fine. So pin your backdrop up. You have your big selfie light, which I'll also send to Maria, the one that I have. And you're really good to go. And worst comes to worst, you can have a friend like Zoom with you to read the other lines. I know it could be really hard to like get people to come over and dedicate this time to helping you. So if you don't have that opportunity, you can always FaceTime with someone. Another great reason to go into an acting class, and you're with your peers right now. You guys are all in an acting class currently. But you guys get to run lines together and call each other and, you know, ask for help. And then the other thing I would say is make sure the audio is very clear and the picture. And I know this is going to sound easy, but try to have fun. Don't be stiff. Like, you are in your own space. No one is watching you. You get to do it as many times as possible. Don't judge yourself too much. And really with tapes, just have fun and be prepared. Memorize your lines. Have some choices that you want to do and have fun.
We have a question, Emilio.
For the self-tapes, does the other person have to be like into it, or could they just be really like very blank?
Yeah, good question. They can be either, but blank is totally fine as well. They can be super into it as well. It depends. I've had both. I really enjoy doing it with people that have studied at my same studio. We have the same like method. So I enjoy when they like act with me. If I call like a rando over, I prefer that they don't, that I rather just talk to like a board, like just to a straight face, because then I could kind of make my own choices, because whatever they say is going to affect my performance. But as far as casting, it doesn't matter. They're just watching you. They're not even listening to that other person, I don't think.
Another question from Adam.
For utilizing things like, let's say, a background or even costume work, would you utilize that in a way to kind of like fit the scene? Like, let's say there's a scene where you need to be like a chef in a kitchen. Would it be, then a good idea to then actually go into your kitchen, kind of almost set up a scene, kind of like that? Maybe if you have like a costume that correlates with the character, utilizing that for yourself.
That's a really good question. I would say for commercials that you could kind of have more fun with it and do something like a chef scene or, out in the backyard or things like that. I would say for theatrical, just do a blank wall. That's less distracting. And I hate to be so definitive about it, but I would almost 100% suggest to not do it anywhere else besides a blank backdrop. A lot of times they have directions in the audition sides where it says like horizontal, good lighting, clear visual, blank background. So it'll say that. But even if it doesn't, like I think you'd be safest with a blank wall. Oh, and then costume, it depends. Because it can drop you in if you're really like, you don't need to go out
like let's say it was like Sons of Anarchy, right?
Right.
And wear a leather jacket or.
Oh, for sure. Sorry. Yes, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Like, get as decked out as you can, but don't be like corny with it, Make sure it makes sense with the character and all of that. But absolutely, like, and again, this is something that you get comfortable with after doing tapes multiple times, right? I did a tape like 2 days ago where I had a cigarette and I lit it, and I don't smoke, and I lit it in my house, and I grabbed matches instead of like a lighter, because she hands me, a light, and I'm like, I had a cigarette in my mouth, lit it. You want one? It's like very natural, like, but I would have never done that even 3 years ago. It takes confidence, I guess, to be able to get comfortable, but I'm here telling you right now to do it right now, right? Like, get those weird quirky things or those weird awkward moments that you think are awkward out of the way, because it doesn't matter. Like, they're either going to book you or they're not. I'd rather you take a fun risk than to just play it safe every single time. So yeah, bring, one of my girlfriends who booked a character in a show called Boo Bitch on Netflix. I helped her tape, and she came over and she was like, oh yeah, all my stuff is in the back of the car. If you just want to grab it, and I open it, and there's like tons of shopping bags. And I'm like, what are you moving in? And she's like, no, she's shopping. And so in the scene, she has 8 shopping bags on this hand and on this one, and it just dropped her right into character. And she was kind of like, I don't know if you've seen the show, but it's a comedy, and she's in high school, and she's like a follower of one of the popular girls. And so she holds all the girls' bags, and she was just, you know what I mean? And so like doing stuff like that, it definitely makes a casting director be like, oh, who's that? What are they doing? And it also helps you. It drops you in.
Any other questions? Yeah? All right. Well, we'll look forward to seeing that. I'm going to watch the first season and then watch the second season, right? Of your Hulu series.
Yep. Season 1 is out.
So I can stream it now.
You can stream it now on
stream
Hulu.
Tell Me
Yep.
Lies now. Okay, great.
Yeah.
That'll be my holiday present to myself. Anyway, well, any other questions? Are we good? No? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Natalee.
guys. Thank you for having me. All right. Good luck to everyone, and reach out to me on Instagram or anything like that. And I'd be happy to chat with you if you guys have any further questions. And definitely check out the Magic Mornings Journal. I think that it's a fantastic tool that can be helpful to anyone. So
Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Bye, Maria. Thank
Bye.
you.
See you
Bye,
next
guys.
week, I hope.
See you. Yeah, exactly. Bye.
Okay.